What's up, guys? Welcome to today's vlog. So I kind of wanted to just cover on why did I choose book cover design versus logo design versus flyer design versus any other type of graphic design. One, I like to stick with one thing, just like someone who paints is just a painter, you know what I mean? Someone who, builds cars is just the mechanic. I just think that sticking to the one thing, just like if you write romance books or if you write any other genre, you're gonna be mostly about that genre. I think that's a pretty common thing you'll find between a lot of people is that, you know, what they write is usually, what it all corresponds. It all relates. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Um, if you're somebody who's really here to make a difference, then you got to pay attention. You got to pay attention to what's actually happening, because while it's happening, there's a lot of other things happening. So I just think that, after I learned how to design book covers in college, literally like when I got to class and the teacher explained this was going to be our project, and I kind of picked it up and just went ahead and dove into it. I really liked it. I had a lot of fun designing my first book cover ever. I think the feeling that I got from designing that first book cover really kept me to where I'm at today. It was I was just really comfortable with it. And even though it didn't turn out the best, I think that it was a great starting point. And I just look back at that day like, man, what if I never learned how to design book covers in college, And we didn't really learn, they were just, literally, this is how the project went. He was like, okay, does everybody have Photoshop? Okay, we're going to be redesigning this book cover. And then, well, basically, the book, you could pick the book, but the project was to redesign the book cover. And then he was like, I thought it was going to be some, in college, I wasn't there for long, so, but the thing is, in college, I thought, they're really gonna work, step by step through stuff, but it's not like that. The professors are there to basically give you the book with all the assignments in it, and you just do the assignments from these college books. So one, I think that that's kind of backwards in the first place. But I guess it opens up the option to be like, if this person is really serious about it, then they're gonna do the work, and if they get a good grade, then that makes sense. I guess that's how grading works and how school works. And maybe you went to college. I don't have a problem with anybody that stayed in college. After 2 months of just being there, I was like, I'm kind of tired of this, so I left. And that was literally, that was how the cookie crumbled, and that was it. So at that point, when I left, I kind of had a few options. It was like, what do I want to do? Because I think everybody, you end up at this point in your life where you're like, what do you want to do? What's the big purpose behind your life? What's your fuel? Are you just stopping at a job, or are you trying to do something else too? I think there's a lot more energy here than people realize to actually just put into doing what we want to do, but people sometimes choose to spend their energy elsewhere, which is what it is. But I think that whatever, if you're still looking for your purpose, then you gotta pick up something and just go after it, because it's not gonna always, feel like it's your purpose 24/7. I've noticed that with my book covers. Don't get me wrong, I have fun doing them, but it's at this point, it's this is about what I'm doing, and it doesn't matter how I feel. It's this is what I have to do. That's, I don't know, it's just how I look at it, because I think when you really like to do something, it's not really a question. You just kind of go into it and do it either way. And that's what separates, people from who keep going and people who just don't. So, yeah, I didn't really learn how to design logos ever, or I didn't really learn how to design flyers or any of the other stuff. It was really when I started getting good at book covers that I was like, well, let me try a logo for this client, and then I kind of got into doing that on the side. But it's still, to this day, logos are not my main thing. Book cover and cover design, that's where my focus is, in connecting with authors, writers, and self-publishers and people that are out here writing books. I think I just found to me it was I know there's you can call the audience of, people who would need book covers, you can call them authors. So for like logos, it could be, I guess it could be anyone starting a business, I think it's good to go with your gut feeling, because when you go with your gut feeling, it's like 99% of the time, that's the decision you should have made. And if you keep, like, when people second guess, that's what, honestly, it's just a waste of time. So if you want me to give you the best tip today, remove that second guessing. Don't waste the time that maybe you're wasting your life. I think we all probably have wasted time that we could, redistribute to do other things. But I think most of all, it's just like how you spend your time. Most of us are given time anyway. So, if we're given time, I think that's a gift right there. So what are you gonna do with yours? And that question really started just getting, like, beating me in the head when I was in school. Like, man, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm not trying to wash cars forever. I'm not trying to do this forever. And it was just like a point where I had to make a decision, a long-term decision. And I think that's, where joshuajadon.com got started, because I was like, this is something I can do for, like, if I want to do it for the rest of my life, I can do book cover design for the rest of my life. So I just think that, maybe you're writing books, or maybe you're a gymnast, or I'm trying to think of other things. Maybe you're an actor, a singer, whatever it is, show up for it every day. And I guarantee you, like, that's the definition of, your life. Like, no one should have to tell you, what do you want to do? You should just be doing it, And we in school, we always asked that question, like, so, I guess it was to spark our interest, but it always kept driving towards more of a career thing. And I think as individuals right now, there's a lot of people who have that kind of entrepreneur mindset, and if you just go out there and do something about it, that's where you see the results happen. I can remember back when I was younger, and setting up a lemonade stand, like any normal kid. But I would go with my sister, and we would literally pull this little, like one of them little kid, them little kid wagons or whatever. We would fill it up with all of our supplies. We'd walk about a mile, maybe a mile and a half, down to this little area off this corner it was in Ada, where we lived at the time, here in Michigan, which is basically just this little town. And we would, pull up our little wagon there, put a little sign on there, and just chill and just do our thing that day. Like, when you show up, it shows up. Because when we showed up, people showed up to buy the lemonade. So I just think that when you show up, online with your book, when you show up doing anything, there's going to be a reaction to that. There's always going to be a, like, oh, that's what that is, And I think that really motivates me every day to keep going, because, like, I'm never done. I don't think any of us are, even though some people want to think, oh, I'm done for the day. Well, you got to keep going. When you settle, or as my dad says, when you stop, it stops. Like that can be good and bad, but I think that, it's just like, just keep grinding, keep grinding and stay focused, because, like, I didn't really budge from doing book covers, and here I am today still doing book covers and still having just as much fun. So you just, like a plant grows, like people grow too, and you realizing this, I think, is a key part that, like, a lot of people don't talk about it in success, like how you actually have to just be there every day, for whatever it is you're doing. Like, that's hard to, I guess, get the message across to people. But when you start showing up, like, that's when the change happens. And I think that, like, it's just important. When I showed up to college, it was like, that was when the change happened, got into book covers. But it was a choice too, like, it's always going to be a choice for that person to make. But just be honest with yourself, and I think your life's going to be, it's going to be pretty good. And we got the time here to do anything. So let's make it happen, people. Let's make it happen. I'll catch you guys on the next vlog. And if you have a comment, just leave one below. If you have any questions, email me at support@joshuajadon.com. And yeah, check out my website if you haven't seen any of my book cover designs. It's joshuajadon.com. The description's in the link. Or if you're already on my website, awesome. Pretty good. So yeah, guys, have a great night. Today has been a great day. It was a little bit rainy here in Michigan. I don't know if you guys can see this, but that is the trees to to the sky and the rain is clearing up, which is pretty cool. You know, I like a clear sky, and the rain's good, but when it's done for the rain, we move on to the next phase, you know. So move on to your next phase, move on to the next step in whatever it is you're doing today, and just take that step, because it's a very important step. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.